Alright everybody, welcome back, and today, as a time of recording yesterday whenever this video should go out, Gaijin went ahead and dropped a bunch of battle rating changes, and in this case, not all of them were just pure battle rating changes. If you opened up your game today and you hadn't actually checked the BR changes spreadsheet, you may have been surprised to see that the F-16ADF and the F-16MLU went up to 13.3. And that's because Gaijin decided to go ahead and give these things the AMRAAM, in addition to a couple other changes as well. So a couple things before we get started. I do want to say I'm covering all three of these planes, so both the American and Italian ADFs and the MLU as well. And I would also like to say that, in my opinion at least, this was a mistake. Of course, I do know that the Italian ADF never actually used the Sparrow in service, and so there's a lot of people that are like, oh, well, you know, historical accuracy. But they were quite fun at 12.7 with just Sparrows. And in the case of the American ADF, this was a real loadout that they actually used. Gaijin doing this means there is now only a single 12.7 F-16 that has Sparrows, and that's the F-16AJ. If you ask me, what they should have done was just go ahead, wait till next update, which they have dev blocks coming out for them right now, and just go ahead and add a folder version of each of these planes as like a quote-unquote late version. And there you go. You still have your 12.7 ones, and you have your 13.3 ones. It's free filler for Gaijin, should be very easy to just copy and paste over, and the players get the choice of what they would actually like to play. As it currently stands though, what we're dealing with here is actually very similar to the F-16AM or the F-16OCU. Both of those are also Block 15 airframes, just like the F-16ADF, and the MLU is only 20 kilograms heavier, so everything I talk about here is pretty much applicable to it. In terms of dogfighting performance, it beats the F-16Cs, and it only loses to the Block 10. The only real way a Block 50 can beat you is if it manages to get a perfect rate at its best rate speed, which, let's be real, that's almost certainly never going to happen in ARB. Even though, of course, it will lose in a 1v1 against stuff like the Gripen or the J-10 and especially the Eurofighter, this is still a very solid flight model for top tier, especially because a 13.3 matchmaker is quite good, and so most of the time you're not going to be seeing higher than 14.0, and let's just be honest, most of the time people are going to be dying before you even get into gun range. But yeah, essentially what this means is that, especially for 13.3, you have a very solid flight model, and they went ahead and upgraded the kit as well. As you can see in the background, they went ahead and gave this thing access to up to 6 AMRAAMs. In this case, they gave it the AIM-120A. The AIM-120A and the B are identical, in case you didn't know, and both of them are better for ARB than the AMRAAM C5. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I made a video on it recently. I recommend you go ahead and check it out after this video. But essentially, this means that you have the best radar armament that F-16s can have right now. If the Derby was more consistent, I might give it to that, but unfortunately, it likes to randomly whiff. Now, you may be wondering why this thing is at 13.3 while the F-16AM and the F-16OCU are at 13.7. There is a couple things, one of which is the fact that, even though it is minor, they get access to HMD for their IR missiles. It doesn't make much of a difference at all, but it can be useful. And speaking of IR missiles, that is the other major difference. You may have noticed that I am running a full set of AMRAAMs, and while part of that is because it only gets access to 6 missiles, and so I want to make sure I have as many radar missiles as possible, the other part is that this only gets access to the AIM-9L, and at 13.3, that's a pretty bad IR missile. While the range is still good, it is incredibly easy to defeat just by popping a single flare in most cases. The AM and the OCU get the AIM-9M, which of course has suspension IRCCM. In my opinion at least, it's not that big of a deal because, again, I'm not really that worried about running IR missiles on this thing anyways. Even if I would, it would only be a single one, which you will see on some of my clips here in a little bit. The radars are functionally the same now too, you know, maybe some small differences in range and stuff like that, but Gaijin went ahead and copy and pasted the proper radar over to the ADFs, so now they have TWS. It only took like 2 years of bug reporting for them to finally get it, and only when it actually got the AMRAAM. Mighty big coincidence, is it not? But yeah, this means that you get proper TWS and data link. Really, the only thing that you're like quote unquote missing is HMD. And if you ask me, it's not that big of a deal. In fact, this reminds me a lot of the dynamic between the F-16AM and the F-16C, where the AM lacks the radar HMD of the C, at least for now, while having a better flight model. This is at a lower battle rating than both, and all you have to do is use the tall ACM like you see me doing right here. I got somebody engaging me, I already went ahead and notched and chaffed his missile, I get the lock, and immediately pull back into the notch, just like you would with HMD. I chaff his missile, he eats mine. It's very much workable. So really you have a choice. You either have the F-16D and the Israeli tree at 13.3, or you have the ADFs and MLU. And what it comes down to is, would you rather have the better flight model, and in my opinion the better kit, because the AMRAAM doesn't just go stupid like the Derby does, or would you rather have HMD and some extra countermeasures? And me personally, I'm going to take the better flight model and AMRAAMs. Now, I did mention countermeasures just now, and that is one of the things that changed about these vehicles with the BR change, and also it's one of the only differences between the vehicles now. Out of the 3 jets I have in this video, the MLU is the best one, and that's because of his countermeasure load. So if you remember, these F-16s before had 60 normal caliber countermeasures. This was one of the options that the plane can use in real life. It has 2 areas for flares. Each can either do 30 normal or 15 large caliber countermeasures. Previously, Gaijin had it set to having, 30 of each. But the keen eye among you may have noticed that, at least in the case of the ADFs, the physical model actually shows 30 and 15, so 45 total. That's also what the OCU had previously. Well, in the case of the ADFs, Gaijin did go ahead and correct it to what the physical model showed. So they now max out at 45 pops of countermeasures, which is actually lower than what the Su-33 has. It's still more than before Gaijin made the single pop, but it is a nerf compared to what it was earlier in this update. The F-16 MLU, on the other hand, actually has 2 groups of 15, as you can see right here. And so now, Gaijin finally went ahead and fixed the F-16 MLU's countermeasures. It gets access to 60 large caliber and 60 normal caliber countermeasures. So essentially, for the MLU at least, this was just a straight upgrade. It has the same amount of countermeasure pops as it did previously, but now half of them are much more effective. So basically, if you have any of the planes that I've shown today, and you're not sure which one to do, just play the MLU. You're not going to notice a 20 kilogram difference in weight, but you will notice having 15 extra pops or countermeasures. Just to be clear, 45 is usually enough. I've only run out once, but it can happen. So having the extra is just always nice to have. In any case, I hope you enjoyed the video. I know I haven't been posting as much recently. I'm sorry, I have been very busy with work, but I'm going to do my best to pump out a few more videos this week, especially because the BR changes are here and there's several vehicles that I really want to cover. Also, another thing, I don't do this very often, but if you're not subscribed and you haven't done so already, I would greatly appreciate it if you do so. I'm trying to hit 25k subs before the month is out, and we're only about 500 subs away. I may also have a little surprise in store whenever we get to 25 as well. But on that note, I do need to go ahead and find my next flavor of the month vehicle to bully with. So I hope y'all have a great day, and I'll catch y'all next time, and peace, y'all.